Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a late night hot take. Final video of the evening. Smash like and subscribe, etc., etc. Books in the description. Links to my books, check them out. Rumble and BitChute. Okay, so now, last few news stories before we get into the weekend. Um, and before we get into it, wanted you to know Joan and I got a video question on the Lotus Eaters today. It's episode 77. So if you want to see our question, it was about immigration and the Lotus Eaters, Carl Benjamin and the Lotus Eaters answered. It was kind of cool because I became a gold premium member and you get to do your own question. So that was fun. But what's not fun is reading the news today. It's just brutal. Secret Service members confirm that Joe Biden's mental faculties are indeed in, quote, bad shape, Dan Bongino says. This is from Big League Politics. Confirming what we all figured to be true. Yeah, I mean, he has not been good. There's video of him. He's not really bad, but he kind of wanders off the stage or around the stage when he's done talking. I don't know why they give him so much room to wander. And everybody's looking at him. You could tell, like, Kamala Harris, Biden's wife, other people who are around him are like watching him, like they're smiling, but they're watching him like, oh, I got to make sure he doesn't fall off the stage or something. He's, I don't know what's worse, having Biden in the shape he's in, or Kamala Harris. In some respects, I guess we're spared certain things because Biden's in and he can only do so much, but at the same time, I feel like a guy that old almost has nothing to lose. This was my worry about John McCain being president. He was so old, like, what do I care? I'll go out in a blaze of glory. I had a good run. Might take everybody with me, but who cares? Something like that. He's just fallen apart, it seems. But that's just my opinion. I don't have an inside track. I just have eyes and watch videos. College students suspended for saying a man is a man and a woman is a woman. New York University suspends from mandatory teaching program. And it seems, according to the article, this is from Neon Nettle. I don't know what that is, but it seems like the guy was refusing to back down from his beliefs. I don't know why people get so wrapped up in this stuff. I really don't. Yes, John. I know. Here, you come over here. Like, who cares? Who cares what this guy believes? Who cares if you're trans? No one cares. I just don't care. But everybody on Twitter cares, and everybody on Twitter complains, and people listen. I don't know why. It's very frustrating to see. My theory is that Twitter attracts the mentally ill, and they come in droves, and they get caught up in it, and they just stay on Twitter, screaming into the void. I mean, these people, like I said before the internet, these people would just be wackadoos who would write, they had the opinion column in the newspaper, and people would write to that, and maybe they'd get in once in a while, and people would laugh at it or ignore it and say, oh, God. They'd get into some obscure newspaper or maybe they'd write their own little pamphlet. But now they're all over the internet, and one of these whack jobs goes viral. Somebody's career gets ruined. The next thing you know, they're destroying toys or syrup or whatever. It's the wokeness It's always sort of been there, but now it's been almost institutionalized thanks to the internet and mostly Twitter, I think. From Jonathan Turley, Looney Tunes Supreme Leader issues fatwa to require cartoon women to wear hijabs. This is Iran's Supreme Leader, and this is the kind of stuff that goes on in Iran. This is why they're not really a threat. They're too busy doing stupid stuff like this. And, you know, putting that on their own population. They have to oppress their own population fairly regularly to keep them in line. Because if you don't, they're going to revolt. So, this is why we should just leave them alone. They'll collapse internally when people are sick of dealing with their government and their wacky decrees. California school district pushes segregation, promotes black-only event. This is the horseshoe theory, right? These people are so woke, they've gone around the bend, and they're coming around the other way. A California school district has been accused of pushing racial segregation after promoting events that are only open to black parents. The Val Verde Unified School District has announced a 7-part series of black-only meetings that call for black parents to have a larger influence on the curriculum that is taught in the schools. The problem is, these people are trying to correct history. They're not just trying to make things fair for the current students. They're trying to go back in time and fix racism since the beginning of this country. And they can't. It doesn't work. You know, the parents with common sense are going to say, this is stupid. Can we just have a school meeting? Can we talk about real issues? Oh, this is Neon Nettle again. Can we just live our lives? And the other half are like, yeah, I've been robbed here. I want special treatment. The special treatment will only cause more resentment by other people. And especially in a school district where you got a bunch of parents. They're overly sensitive. They're overly sensitive about their kids and what's going on. So that the school pushed it. I mean, if you feel guilty about your life, go do charity work or something. Stop putting this in everything. Meanwhile, if you have the wrong politics, it doesn't matter what color you are. Amazon Prime stopped streaming Clarence Thomas documentary during Black History Month. This guy's conservative, therefore he's a target. Suddenly, his race doesn't matter. It's the double standard. You know? They just can't leave him alone. And, you know, back in the day, when Clarence Thomas got on the Supreme Court, it was widely celebrated. It's like, oh, look, we have a black Supreme Court justice, finally. And now it's like, we've achieved some level of equality in that, regardless of your color, if you don't have leftist ideas, you're attacked equally by leftists. This was talked about by Yellow Flash. He did a video on the Superman reboot in the works at Warner Brothers with Ta-Nahesi Coates writing, J.J. Abrams producing. And I'm not a huge fan of J.J. Abrams. I think he's good in some respects as a filmmaker, but if he has the wrong script, man, I think he just goes right down in flames. This guy, Ta-Nahesi Coates, is writing the Superman movie, but he is extremely political. He's a comic book writer. He's written a bunch of other stuff. He was really a journalist. He's worked for the Village Voice, Washington City Paper, Time. He's contributed to New York Times Magazine, the Washington Post, the Washington Monthly, and other publications. He is super, super political. And he was a national correspondent at the Atlantic. And for some reason, he was recruited to write comic books. Now, that doesn't mean he can't do it, but it seems like a weird background. I'm familiar with the comic book world. I made comics for decades. And, on the one hand, he would bring interesting experience to the table, but on the other hand, like a lot of current writers in Marvel, especially at Marvel, but some at DC, they kind of flout the fans and don't want to play in the sandbox. They want to throw out the sandbox and sort of build their own. Comic books, especially superheroes, if you're going to play in the superhero universe, there's some parameters. And the current woke crop of writers just are... They're beating comic fans over the head with politics. And he seems to be one of these writers. So the fact that he's writing the Superman movie, Reboot, I think it's because he's really, really woke. And his comic books are controversial, and that's why the Hollywood guys would hire him. But the reason they're controversial is they seem to be very anti-American. They're extremely critical of America in general. And, a lot of these SJWs have very dark visions of what the country's like, and I think his is pretty dark. And now he's going to be writing Superman, a character that needs to be light. I mean, Zack Snyder already tried to make him dark and cool, and it kind of was, That's not the way Superman works. Christopher Reeve's Superman worked because Christopher Reeve played him like you'd expect. A guy who was generally a nice guy, and he happens to be an alien from another planet with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. I can only imagine what they're going to do. What a guy like him, who criticized the 9/11 responders for some reason. So, I agree with Yellow Flash. I think this is a terrible idea. I think he's the wrong guy to write for this. If you were doing a movie adaptation of, there was a comic about a black Captain America, and it was a very political comic. I don't say that because he's black. I say it because he's very political. And he would have been perfect for that because it would have jibed with his worldview. But I don't think it would have been a very good movie. Might have been an okay, I don't know, special on Disney, I guess, if you want to make superheroes that political. I think making superheroes that political has gotten too far out of hand. When Neil Adams did it back in the 70s, it was new, it was novel, it was daring. Everybody got mad. Now it's like it's the norm, and it's just too much. The fans hate it. The fans absolutely hate it now. When Neil Adams did it, they kind of liked it because it was different. Now everybody hates it. The fans, they don't buy this stuff. The kind of fans that are coming into comics now are few and far between, number one, and they're people who don't really read comics. They're political. So, I think this is not a great play. Sasha Baron Cohen announces retirement from undercover satire after infiltrating Washington rally. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think Sasha Baron Cohen is a really funny guy, really talented, a great actor. But, his politics now have started started to hurt his comedy, I think. So, doesn't surprise me that he's retiring from it, because now the perfect thing for him to do would be to go undercover against the other side of politics. If he was truly like the comedian's comedian, he probably would. But they probably wouldn't want to produce those shows or movies. You know, him being undercover, making Antifa look bad, or BLM, it's just not going to fly in Hollywood. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's negative rating nearly 20 points higher than GOP Minority Leader McCarthy's. A little bright spot, but not surprising. Considered, I mean, I'm surprised it's that, not higher. I mean, she's so negative. She's another person, just too old. Just retire, Nancy. Just go home, be with your grandkids. How much time you got? I mean, do you really want to be one of these old people being wheeled into the Capitol on your last legs? Do you really want to die in the Capitol building at work? Seems stupid. But I want to end on a high note, and then I got to make some comics and go to bed. Trump shares plans with new Super PAC in Mar-a-Lago meeting. The ex-president told political advisors Thursday that former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski will run a new Super PAC. And this is great news, because if there's anything Trump's good at, it's making money. And Super PACs basically there's no rules. there's a few rules, but not many. Trump is going to he's already making millions for the PAC. And, this is going to, if it's run right, I think this is going to be hugely influential, because money can really make campaigns, especially on the down ballot people, people who are running locally. And that's where Trump can really, get people in. If he can funnel that money to the right people, he can get state legislatures. More of them will be red. And not just red, but Trump Republicans. And this isn't about just re-electing Trump in 2024. This is also about the survival of the Republican Party. They need, whether it's Trump or DeSantis or whoever, they need to get a Republican back in, and they need to fix the voting situation, if you know what I mean. They also need to fix big tech. They need to fix big tech. Big tech is a mess. They're running amok. They need to be reined in. I don't trust the Democrats to do it, because their version of reining it in will be, oh yeah, okay, so don't worry, we fixed it. Now we control big tech, and everything's good, so we're fine with it. No, we want real rules, so Facebook and Google doesn't game their algorithm to make sure conservatives never get their voices heard. Yeah, it's been a rough news week, and but this is good news. Whether Trump comes back or not, a Super PAC like this, run correctly, could be a big boom for the Republicans, and could keep the Democrats from, overrunning everything. I don't think the Democrats are in any danger of that. They're already so inept, and their arrogance and elitism is already hurting them. There's so much regret amongst the Biden voters who are paying attention. So, we'll see what happens in 2022. I'm Tony D. This is Little Joan, and it is sleep time. We'll see you tomorrow.